Welcome, welcome. If you are new here, I'm so glad you came to join us. I hope this is just a really good use of your time. And if you've been here before, of course, welcome back. If you're watching on YouTube, go to the description, grab the handout for this session so you can follow along. And if this kind of legal technology talk is helpful, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this. So now today I want to talk about drip campaigns and why they matter so much for law firms when somebody reaches out, shows interest, maybe even has a consultation, and then they just do not move forward or they don't call back. A lot of people see drip campaigns as a nuisance, but they really are a superpower because these types of situations happen all the time. Somebody calls, they ask really good questions, they sound interested, maybe they even seem serious, and then they don't schedule, or they do schedule, they come in, walk out the door, and then nothing. They do not call, and you don't reach out back. If you've First, if you've never heard of the term drip campaign before, real fast, it's just simply a series of automated emails or text messages that go out on a schedule so your firm stays in touch without anyone having to remember to do it. That's really all that is. It's top of mind awareness. You'll see it called TOMA, TOMA. That's top of mind awareness. So by the end of today, you are going to understand exactly why that simple idea of top of mind awareness and drip campaigns is one of the most powerful things a law firm can put in place and why it can become your law firm's superpower. All right. So I want to drive one point home today. Once somebody walks out the door, there's about an 80% decrease in the chance they're going to come back and move forward or call you back. That's the bad news. The good news is there's still a 20% chance they will. And too many law firms abandon the 20%. That is cash on the table. And here's the thing. The person did not say no forever. A lot of times they did not say yes yet, or they never gave you a definitive answer either way. So what happens after that person disappears? Everybody gets busy, the phone keeps ringing, new leads come in, staff moves on, attorneys move on, intake moves on. And that person who is interested enough to call your firm just kind of fades out. And most firms abandon that 20% because staying in touch manually is hard and it's time consuming. For every lead in the right way, without forgetting, without it turning into one more task, nobody has time for. We have to flip the script, and that's exactly where drip campaigns win. A drip campaign gives you the benefit of consistent follow-up without the workload of consistent follow-up. You're already paid for that. You already paid for that opportunity and lead. You paid for the marketing. You paid for someone to answer the phone, and you paid for the consultation. Why would you stop there and just let that remaining 20% disappear? And it's not just about trying to get somebody to hire you. It's about staying top of mind and keeping your pipeline working for you. Because maybe they're not ready today. Maybe they got busy. Maybe they need to talk to a spouse. Maybe they are price shopping. Maybe they just they know they need help, but it just did not feel urgent that week. Does that sound familiar? And here's the layer that people forget. Top of mind awareness, or TOMA, is not only for the person coming back and hiring you. It's also for the moment that somebody asks them, do you know a good lawyer? If your firm stays visible and helpful, your name is the only one they remember. In marketing, this is brand awareness. So you're doing that through drip campaigns. Past clients and old referral sources belong in drip campaigns too, not just cold leads. Now, there's a lot of reasons to build drip campaigns. Maybe somebody called but never scheduled. Maybe they had a consultation but didn't sign. Maybe it's an estate planning lead who keeps putting it off. Or maybe it's a past client or referral source you want to keep warm. There's a lot of ways to use them. But today I want to keep it simple and focus on one of the most common ones. The person who called but never scheduled into a workshop or consultation, because that is such a normal gap in law firms and one of the biggest money down the drain scenarios. They raised their hand, they showed interest, but something got in the way between the call and the booking. So let's talk about what types of emails should say when you're working with these people and building drip campaigns. And we are going to do a live demo of this. This is a real short beginning to this session. But this is where a lot of firms get lazy. They're going to write things like just checking in. Oh, wanted to follow up. Oh, let us know if you want to schedule. That's not helpful. A strong drip campaign should feel specific to why they called. In estate planning, if somebody called your office, what are they probably thinking? They may be putting it off. They may be thinking that it's going to be too complicated or expensive. They may not know whether they need a will or a trust. They may know they need to do something, but have no idea what the first step looks like. So what if your emails actually answered those thoughts and spoke to why they called? If they called about estate planning and you're sending them emails about guardianship, that doesn't make sense. You have the handout of, on the bottom, it says, say this, not that, phrases that will be really helpful in writing emails and text messages. Generic things like just checking in, that's not a good thing to say. It's kind of lazy writing, and it looks really bad from the client's perspective. There's better ways to phrase those things. So what if one email explained what the first meeting looks like? What if another explained why people delay estate planning? What if another talked about the peace of mind that comes once it's handled? What if one had some case studies of people before and after they did their estate planning? What if another answered a common question that your office hears every single week? Now you're not chasing them. Now you're helping them. Now you're educating them and giving them comfort in any stress they have about hiring you. And you are quietly proving that your firm knows what it's doing. So remember, when you're writing content for an email, and really for websites too, I really want to make this an important point in this topic today. It should always be from the perspective of the person reading it. That's what makes it relatable. AI can be really helpful for getting you into their head. One great way to do that in ChatGPT is with something they call role play. A strong prompt to activate role play in ChatGPT, and I put this exact prompt on your handout on the very bottom so you can use this. Put yourself in the mind of a prospective client who called our law firm to have their estate planning done, but did not schedule, and we are building a drip campaign that will speak to them, teach them, and relate to them. Give me 20 email ideas. That helps you get out of your own way and into a different thought process. If you're typing from your perspective, it comes out as just talking at somebody. If you talk from their perspective, now you're having a conversation with them, even if it's only through email or text message. Because then you can read through those ideas that the AI gives you and use them to develop your emails and text messages. The key is this: never write from your own perspective. Write from your knowledge of the topic, but always through the lens of the person receiving it. And this is true with websites too. You can see websites that are talking at you, and you can instantly recognize a website that is talking with you. And your email should be the same way. And I'm not even talking about drip campaigns. Any email you write, you should put yourself in their perspective of what would really help them to answer whatever they emailed you about. So here's a really relatable example. Think about somebody who calls about estate planning because of a healthcare scare in the family. Maybe something happened with a parent. Maybe a friend passed away unexpectedly. They call your office. They mean to schedule, but then life happens. Work gets busy. A few days pass, then a few weeks pass. Did they stop needing estate planning? No. They just got pulled back into life. And if nobody follows up in a smart way, that lead cools off and disappears because they probably went to another attorney who did what we're teaching today, and you did not. Not because they did not need help, just because nobody stayed present at your firm. But imagine your firm has a simple drip campaign running in the background for different topics. Maybe you have 5 or 6 different streams going, and people are being directed into the correct drip campaign. Maybe they're being directed into a couple of them. That's okay. A few days later, they get a calm, helpful email about what the process looks like. A week later, they get one, why delaying creates risk. A little later, they get one reminding them that it's usually easier than they think. And every email gives them an easy way to book when they're ready. And you're not doing any of it. You're just seeing appointments pop on your calendar with people now who are ready to move forward. Now your firm is still in the picture. Now your firm feels organized. And now that 20% still has a path back. Do not burn the bridge, build it. Because that builds trust. And trust is not only built in the consultation room, a lot of it is built by how clearly and consistently you communicate and whether your firm feels calm and organized, which we talked about a few weeks ago, being grounded in your role and how you communicate with your potential clients. But here's the beauty of it. You build it once, you write the emails once, you set the automations once, and then the system keeps doing the repetitive task for you. That is how you get the benefit of follow-up without adding more work. These are not your newsletters. Those are great, but that is not what this is. This is targeted and specific in a scheduled pattern, taking somebody through a journey. Here's a really good example of a very, very technical drip campaign. If you go click on blue shoes on an Adidas website, you're going to start getting on your social media ads about blue shoes. They're not giving you things about buy a belt because you looked at shoes and they know that's what you were interested in. So that's what they target you for. Law firms haven't grasped this concept in full yet. And I'm here to just change the industry in that it is okay to be targeted. And that's what automation is for. So the big takeaway before I do a live demo for you, excuse me, do not abandon the 20%. There is still opportunity there. There is still revenue there. There are future referrals there. You already paid for the opportunity. Do not leave it on the table just because nobody had the time to follow up manually. A drip campaign gives you the benefit of consistent follow-up without the workload of consistent follow-up. That is why it is your superpower. Today, we're building this inside Lawmatics. If you're on a different platform, the idea is the same, and drip campaigns are still one of the best things you can put in place in your law firm. The buttons will look different, and you may be doing it in ActiveCampaign or MailChimp. That's fine. Do it, though. One difference, which I'm going to show you, is that these lists in Lawmatics, they're dynamic. You do not need to manually keep your lists up to date of who these are going to. But either way, the thinking does not change. So for today, we're going to go inside Lawmatics so you can see the whole thing built from scratch. And Lawmatics is the most efficient way to do this. So let me stop talking about it and I'm actually going to show you. And before I show you, I'm going to ask Beth if you have any comment on just what we talked about and the importance of this from your perspective.
Yeah, so a big part of that is really having a way and looking at reevaluating which ones of your emails are making an impact and being able to see that and really evaluating them over time. Like, yes, let's get them in place, but let's also be able to go back and evaluate and say, hey, how which one is getting people to respond to us, and do we move that further up in the process? Is it a specific email with a specific story that actually makes an impact? And yeah, that is something else to look at when you're setting this up and when you're putting all of this in place to reel in all of that potential missing clients.
Yeah, I love that because in marketing, there's a thing called A and B testing. I'm sure you've seen it on different things you've done. And even when you're uploading YouTube videos, you can do this thing A and B testing, like on titles and whatnot. And is what it does is it disperses 50% of your title, one title this way and 50% this way. And you can start seeing which one is getting more traction. And that's how marketing people start learning their demographics and their audience. This is doing that. You're seeing which emails. It's kind of like A through Z testing because you have a lot of emails and maybe you need to adjust the other emails to be as powerful as that email. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So the very first thing in Lawmatics is under marketing. This is MailChimp. This is ActiveCampaign. It's all built right here. The difference is all of the other stuff of your contacts and everything, it's just in your Lawmatics by using it. And it's building these audiences and it's triggering campaigns and all of this. So in your emails, if you don't know this, I'll just say it real quick. This is where all of your emails templates are housed, whether they're for marketing, drip campaigns, automations, or to use to send one-off emails. That's where all of your emails are organized. And if you don't have them in folders, you just say new folder, and you can absolutely do that. So I want to show you what I did. I have a 5 email. Normally, I would say 20 to 30 emails, and you're doing them 20 to 30 days apart, maybe 15 days apart. So it's going to span about a year. And within that time, they'd probably be kicked into another one or they've unsubscribed by that point. But you never want to stop because you should be also sending them your newsletter. Once they come into one of these, they should be getting your newsletter because that'll never stop. So what does an email set look like? So I put Tom on top of mind. And it's being very specific in how you do these. So here's exactly what happens when you come in. It's not complicated. It's just easy to put off. You're speaking to them. They relate. Yeah, it is easy to put off. If they can't relate to what you're saying, they're going to close the email and delete it. And then you just go through, write what you believe is in their perspective. Again, not from your perspective. And then you have a form that's a really easy way for them to schedule. You can have both a consultation and a workshop link here. It doesn't matter how you want to do that, but you have to give them a path back. If you're just sending an email with no path back and you say, give us a call, you're probably dropping your 20% to about 4% because people want to work online. And then you just build out your different ones that you want. The nice thing here is when you come in and look at it, you can see how many were sent, how many people were kicked into this automation, which I'll show you in a moment. And then you can see how many were sent, how many were opened, and open rates. And there is a little stats here that you can see a lot more detail, like bounces, things like that, just like you would in ActiveCampaign or MailChimp, any of those. Your sends, your unique opens, your open rates, your bounces, unique clicks, things like that. That's all there. So you can track it here of which ones are also getting open the most. And then again, Beth said it can be in reporting too, where we can set up methods to track that. So I have my 5 emails. I'm going to put another plug in your head that people love videos. Grab Zoom, hop on it, and make 30 20-second clips that address the exact email. They don't have to be professional. If you say, I need to get a videographer, I need to get professional microphones, if you wait for that, you're never going to do it. When you get the revenue, then it's easier to do. But on Zoom, your video quality will be fine. Maybe throw in some AirPods so you have a little better audio and just 30, 15-second, 20-second clips. Do not make them 5 minutes. Do not make them 10 minutes. People will not watch that. People watch social media. And there's the term, of course, doom scrolling, because you get about 10 seconds to capture somebody's attention or they're moving on to the next. So just consider that when you're making videos, but I highly encourage you to add video clips in these. People love that. So the next thing is audiences. Audiences are the same as lists in ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, Constant Contact, all of those. It's just they call them audiences here, which makes a lot of sense because they are dynamic versus static. Static means you're putting people in a list and then you have to manually move them to another list. Here, you're setting filters so they're always up to date with whoever meets the criteria. So let's look at all hired EP clients. Actually, I thought I built one. Here we go. Scheduled consultation, but didn't hire us. So I said their initial consultation is before this date, and the status is these aren't quite right. It would be potential new client, but any field pretty much that you have in Lawmatics, you can run a filter off. So you can choose consultation date is not scheduled, workshop is not scheduled, and they are a PNC. That way, now you have your full list of who that goes to. That will can kick them into single automation or single sends. So I can go send one of those emails in campaigns to this list. There is the automation, which is what I'm going to show you how to set up drip campaigns. But I want to go through this section first. So this is what an audience is. And then when you hit save, it just shows how many people are in different audiences and things like that. Then we'll go to campaigns. This is the one-offs that you send. And I have a couple here. And here you can see statistics if you open them. You can see who opened them, where they bounce. You have all of that information. But to send a one-off email, you click Add Campaign, and you name it. Whatever you want. EP, Workshop, 0102 2027, whatever you want. Here you would choose the audience that you built, whatever it might be. And then you choose the email that you wrote. Here, I probably wouldn't send this, but if you wanted to, you could. You can choose your email template. Who do you want to send it from? You can send it from yourself, a firm email, whatever is available. You can put your signature on the email, and that's your global signature from Lawmatics. You can attach documents if you want. And then this is where your options lie. This is just shooting it one time. When I hit create on a manual activation, it's just going to prepare it to send. You click it and then you send it. You can do at a specific date, and then you can choose a date and time for that to send. This is great for newsletters that you can prepare in advance. That's how you get the emails about open coaching on Friday mornings, is I come in here and I set specific date runs. Repeating, you can send the same email over and over and over and over. If you find a use for that, great. We do it once a month for different hourly clients where it sends and just says, hey, how are you doing? Do you need help with anything? That one does send once a month. That's a use for this. And then you can choose your time frame to have it send. Date-based. This means whoever matches a criteria of a date in a field will get this on that date in the field. So here is a really good example, and I'm actually going to do this. I thought I had one. We'll just do that one. Is birthday cards. This is a great one to set up like this. I'm going to choose birthday, and I want it to run at 8 a.m. on their birthday. And then I'm just going to hit create. Now, when I click it, it'll show when it sends and what it's doing. You can look at the birthday card. Here's what I built. Just a quick happy birthday. Looks really nice, really professional. If you do a birthday, I would encourage you to change it once a year. Just have a task to change it once a year so they're not always getting the same birthday email. And then all you have to do is activate this. And I would just click activate, and then they get a birthday card on their birthday if there's a birthday in the contact. All right. I'm not going to go into event management. That's workshops. So now I want to show you the automation to build a drip campaign. So that's under automations and workflows. And I created here, where did I put it, Beth? One nice thing now is you can actually do a search, and if it matches, it'll show you how many in each one. All right, so here's the automation called but didn't schedule, no response. It is inactive, so I can edit it. This is what a drip campaign would look like. When this happens, I said if the stage is one of no response after initial contact, and then is what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more condition that is match on field, and I'm going to put practice area is equal to estate planning. So now only estate planning people who did not respond to any of the follow-ups will be kicked into this automation. And then if you click this, you want it to be the stage is this and the practice area is estate planning. So as soon as they're lost and they're estate planning and they're this lost stage, now they're going to start getting a drip campaign. If you're having trouble with setting up these entry conditions, you can schedule a discovery with us and we can start working with you. If you're currently a client, ask us. Beth is a master at entry conditions. She's pulled off some of the most amazing entry conditions I've seen that I could never pull off. So then you start entering your emails. So it's as simple as clicking a plus, send email. And is what that looks like is you're going to come over here and you're going to choose your email. So I would choose the Tomo one. Email recipient is going to be your automation target. That means the client of the matter. Send from, you can make the email from whoever you want. You can CC somebody, BCC somebody, and you can add attachments. You can attach your signature to an email here. So I would never put my signature on the actual email for this. I would just attach it. And then skip if target has invalid email, otherwise halt. I'm going to let Beth talk about that real quick. When's a good time to click that and when it's not before I continue.
So, what that does is if they don't have a valid email, it will just skip it and keep going. Now, in other automations, it is a good thing to use that. However, you lose visibility. Okay, so if it is an email that absolutely has to go to someone and they don't have an email, one way to do that is to leave that off, and then it will give you a failed automation. And you can deal with that through your failed automation. That is frustrating, because you get a negative that goes, what is this? There are better ways to deal with this. And this kind of goes back to what John was talking about, your entry rules. In something like this, you want to be able to go, if they called and didn't schedule and there's no response to follow-ups, you want to put in that entry condition of email is not blank. And so that it's only going to run the people through here that have emails. So that's how you can do that first. What you can also do with this is in any of the automations is you can put an if in there that says if email is not blank, then send them this list of emails. Or you say if email is blank, then do this and send them a text message or or create a task for somebody to call them or something like that. So you can handle those within there, and we're going to talk more about that in our next open coaching. But that is how you can handle those. In a campaign like this, you would not want to skip this. You would want to get them out of this automation in another way. Okay. And there's a couple different ways to do that, but normally if it's something that needs to go to them, you want that absolutely to flag you and tell you somehow. Yeah.
What
And don't
now?
forget the delivery window, John. I didn't know if you were going
What
to
was
talk
that,
about that.
Dee?
What? Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so I'm not going into in depth on automations because our next session is going to be the anatomy of an automation. And Beth will go into great details of automations, best practices, entry and exit conditions, all of that. So I am kind of going through quick, but I want to show you the basic setup of a drip campaign.
Yes.
So we've got this set up. Delivery window, I would encourage you to always click this, but your options are different based on what you're doing. If you are sending follow-up emails directly after something to do something, and they are, thanks for attending our workshop. Now it's time to do this. That I would keep Monday through Friday, because if somebody believes that you're sending those by hand, you don't want to give them the impression that you're working on the weekends because they will start expecting you to work on the weekends. So keep those during the workday and choose a delivery time here. 8 a.m. is a great time. You don't want to go much earlier because people's phones ding with emails and text, and you don't want to be that one that they get annoyed at. Things like this, where it's going to be like a 30 email drip, they know that's not you sending it. I would absolutely allow that on weekends if it falls on a weekend. If they get it on a Sunday, it's an email that you're sending them. So just gauge the purpose of your email, if you should be sending it on weekends or not, and if it's going to shoot yourself in the foot that they're going to start thinking you work on weekends. Or you can just say a time window, and you can say, I only want it sent between this time and this time. This one is telling you when to send it. This is just giving a window to send it in, and then you can choose your days. So that's best practice for setting up a drip campaign email. Is I would open it up and I would send it between 8 and 6. I might even bump it up to like maybe 8 p.m. because people check their emails. I wouldn't go later though. And then the next step is you're going to add your delays. This is what creates the effect of a drip campaign. So in here, I'm going to add a delay. And I said I want 15 days between that email and the next one that sends. You can make this 30. You could make it 10 years. You can do whatever you want, but I would keep it consistent of whatever you do. To me, 15 to 30 days is a really nice drip campaign, unless you want to be more aggressive. But remember, the more aggressive you are, the more you can annoy people. You can do something that maybe is a send 7 days, 8 days, and just add a day to each so it's starting to get longer. You can do that so it does start dispersing further. Just really consider your time frame when you're building this out. You can delay until an action occurs. Beth will go over all these types of options, but this is not an option you would use on drip campaigns. These you just want to keep firing with delays between each email. So I said 15 days, and then we have email 2 will go out. Now with email 2, I added a text message because you can do that. If you're subscribed to Lawmatics texting, which I would highly encourage you do, I think it's like $39 for the firm for 1,500 texts a month. We've never gone over, and it is two-way texting. If your firm isn't texting, I'm going to say you need to start texting. So then you just build a quick text message. These are not emails. Do not copy and paste your emails into a text. Think how you would receive a text, and that's how you prepare a text. I always put the firm name at the top so it's quickly identifiable. It does fall into the same text thread every time, though. If they don't delete that thread, it just keeps adding to it. So that's redundant, but I would always put that so it's very quick. And I always make it personal. First name, John. Most people tell us the hardest part, da 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 da. And then here is your path back to the firm. They can go to our website and schedule a meeting. Always give them a path back without even having to open their email. They can do it right on their phone. Phone numbers, I do tick If this is a secondary option you're putting in, I will say skip this if they don't have it, so it doesn't stop the automation, because most people are going to have emails versus text messages. Although it's starting to switch. Um, but just out of habit, I do tick this so it doesn't hold it up if they gave you a home number. And then, of course, do your delivery windows. I would say it's even more important to do it on text than it is email, because your phones will ding. And that is going to annoy people if it comes in at 2 a.m. and wakes them up. So absolutely do your windows on text messages. You can make it go every day. Maybe be courteous and give them Sunday off or whatever you want. So this is how you do text messages. If you want to put the merge fields in, they're right here. And you can choose most merge fields from the system. I will give you a quick tip. Text message coding is a little weird. If I click this, oh, that one did it. A lot of times it'll actually pop the code to the bottom and you have to go copy and paste it. If it does that, just grab it and move it back up where it needs to be. So don't get frustrated. That's not on your end. It's just something it does sometimes. The other thing you can do is you can say, I want these two to be within a 15-day window. So maybe at 15 days, I'll send this. Here, I'm going to wait 3 days or 5 days, and then I'm going to change this to 10 days. So the next email is still 15 days. I just split the email to go and then the text message within that 15-day period so they don't get an email and a text at the same time. Do it however you want. And then you just keep going. Add your delay, 15 days, email, 15 days, email, 15 days. It's redundant to set up, but this is a superpower to have this in place because it is working in the background while you can continue to do other revenue generating things. And then this one would absolutely have an end condition because you want to not keep sending these if they interact with it. So I just say if the stage is no longer this, then go ahead and kick them out because something happened that they're in some other stage doing something. So I do want to kick them out if they're not in that stage anymore, and you can make this more complex. Beth will go over that in the anatomy of an automation. So that is how you set up a proper drip campaign. I will show you one more thing that you can open this up to say whatever you want, and you can add if conditions here. I would say if you know what you're doing, you can start putting if conditions, which you can say branches. If they're estate planning, do this. If they're this. If you're just starting, I would say just build an automation per drip campaign. To keep it simple, you know where to go to edit it. You're not scrolling over 15 pages wide of automations. This is this one. This is this one. And they'll just pop into the proper one. The other reason I would say, if you don't really know what you're doing is to set it up individually is if they fall into 2 different drip campaigns for some reason, they will get those 2 drip campaigns. If you're doing this, they've already left the path and they can't drop down another one without some really smart work that Beth could usually pull something like that off. But just keep them separate. 1 drip campaign per automation. And that'll keep your life much, much easier. You can also say at the end, kick them into a different automation. So when this one ends, it doesn't have to end. It can go into a more general one or something about updates on the law, but you never want to lose them and you never want to stop communicating with them. Beth, do you have anything to add to this before I stop the live demo?
Yeah. Have you talked about unsubscribes?
I didn't. I'll let you talk about
Okay.
that.
All right. Okay. So, what I want to show you is, we know we get these marketing emails and we get them, and I'm going to take your share, John. I'm going to steal your share. And, we look at, we get those and there's a thing at the bottom that says to unsubscribe. So, first of all, your audiences, when you're talking about audiences, this will automatically pull out the unsubscribes. So I have a lot of times people will go, but my audience doesn't have as many people because I put in here that if the status is equal to PNC and it gives me 19. And then I go to my reports and I run the same report and I put that in there. And if the emails have any value and it gives me 20. Well, you can see what it's going to send you. You can actually export this, and that's why people do, by the way, that's why people do a report with the same um, filters. But if you put unsubscribed in here, if unsubscribed is false, now your number goes to 19 because it's automatically pulling that out. Okay. Now, what does that mean for drip campaigns? The audiences that and those campaigns, those handle it automatically. When you're doing a drip campaign, um, in here, oh, and I should have looked at what you called that because I'm going, I don't know what that is. Oh, here it is. When you're doing a drip campaign, one of the things you want to add up in here is to add unsubscribed. Um, Unsubscribed is false. And if they do unsubscribe, then you want to make this stop. Now, I'm going to talk about this here and not next week or in 2 weeks in the anatomy one, because unsubscribed, those emails, if they're marked as promotional emails, they won't send anyway if they're unsubscribed. Okay, so it'll go down through here, but it's not going to send those emails. It's just not going to do anything. Because they're not supposed to get them. However, when do you use a promotional versus a non-promotional? Because a promotional email is one that is marketing, and a non-promotional is one where you have established a relationship. So if you have unsubscribed from my newsletter, but you schedule a meeting with me, um, my confirmation emails to you and information about your meeting and all of that, those are not promotional emails because we've have that established relationship. Now, where it gets hazy, and I'm not going to get into the law because all states are different and they all have their own interpretation of after that, what is considered promotional, what is not considered promotional. A long-term drip campaign like this, if they've already contacted you and they've already come into a meeting with you, or they've come to a workshop, or they've established that relationship, that's a decision you need to make, whether that is considered promotional or not. Um, but in any case, giving someone an unsubscribe option and allowing them to unsubscribe from a long-term drip campaign is necessarily a good idea because Um, if I unsubscribe from something and you keep sending it to me, I'm going to get really annoyed at you. So that is a very good idea to do that and put that in place. So if they unsubscribe, they drop out of this campaign. So if you put, or they never come in if they are unsubscribed, and if they unsubscribe, that also is your exit condition to get them out. And that's just being a decent person and not annoying people. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, that was the only thing that I really wanted to add to that is how to be able to see like who you're sending it to. You can create a report with that. You can do put the same filters in there. Just remember your email has any value and your unsubscribed is false. You have to add those two filters to the rest so that you can actually see what this is. Okay,
Yep.
here we go.
And I will take it one step further. You can put forms on your website that trigger this type of thing. If you want help doing that, please let us know. But it could be sign up for our newsletter. We can
Mhm.
we can tell you how to get that linked into Lawmatics that triggers an automation or puts them in a audience that when you send a newsletter, they are in that newsletter. So if your website also needs to be talking to Lawmatics in some manner to do what people are asking on your website.
Right.
All right.
A- And I will add one more thing to that is that John was saying about having that link in there for them to be able to schedule a meeting and putting that into a text message. Um, we we have done this. I've done this in a couple firms where we actually create a form and we're sending a form to them. And that form, it has their name and address and email and stuff in it. But in that form, it says they have a checkbox to say, I'm not interested. Don't contact me anymore. I'm not interested. And then it'll ask them a reason. Is it a cost issue? Is it whatever? That is a very good way to get feedback from people because they're like, I'm going to click this and I'm going to tell you why I'm not interested. Like people in some areas, people are very vocal and they want to tell you, like, I didn't hire you because I got another attorney and you were too expensive and whatever else. And that's good feedback for you to get so you can actually get that information. And that can all be automated. So it just goes in there and you have that information. Takes them out of the automation for that drip campaign, puts them into not interested, and you have the data of why. But there's also an option on there to here's where you schedule and here and schedule your meeting right here. So that they have the ability to one, get out of it and tell you why, and two, to schedule easily with you. Yeah, so
Yeah,
just an
absolutely.
idea.
And I'm just going to add one last thing before we go back in and just wrap this up. Even if you don't want people to schedule on your website, I'm going to highly encourage, if you're not, to at least allow them to schedule an appointment with you through a very specific email that was targeted for them for a reason. Just to at least consider doing that. Maybe do a trial one on one type of email. A good example is in follow-ups after they've called you, but they're not sure what they want to do. Offering them to schedule that appointment in an email versus them having to call back because they think they're going to have another 30-minute conversation and they don't have to. That's been done, and you're offering now that they can schedule. You can absolutely set guardrails of when they can schedule, how they can schedule, but I would encourage you, if you're not doing that, to at least try it on one. And I think you'll see your revenue start increasing in a very safe and guardrail controlled manner. All right. So let's go ahead and come back here. I don't know why this keeps going wonky. All right. So if you're watching this and thinking we need this, but never get around to building it, that's okay. That is exactly the kind of thing we help with, not in a pushy way, just in a practical, let's get this built so it actually works kind of way. If you need help setting something up like this, or you want to learn more about Lawmatics Decision Vault or Gavel.io, schedule the discovery meeting with us from our website. Let's have a conversation. So here's your key takeaways. Do not abandon the 20%. Once they walk out the door, there is an 80% decrease in the chance they will come back and move forward. But there still is that 20%. And that is exactly why drip campaigns matter. Right from their perspective, not yours. The best emails are not just following up. They speak to what the prospective client is thinking, feeling, worried about, and needing at the stage. Think about it in the way of what keeps you awake at night. That's a really good way to redirect your thought process. Drip campaigns do the hard work without adding the hard work. They let your firm stay in touch, stay on top of mind, build trust, and create future opportunities without adding more manual follow-up to your team's day. So now, before we wrap this up, just a quick note for anyone watching on YouTube. We always stop the recording here and then open it up for live Q&A. That part is not recorded so people can ask real questions and talk through real situations. If you want to be a part of that conversation, we do this live every Friday at noon Eastern. It's free, and the link to join is in the description.